We are live. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. We have our part 2 of our new series called Advisor Direct, which is bringing knowledge to you from your fellow advisors. One of the things that we know to be true is that you guys learn best when you are with one another, when you're actually talking to one another. And it's not Jenn Lee trying to teach you anything, because as Roy will attest, I don't know anything about travel, right, Roy?
I'm sure you by now you know a lot more than what you think. So hi Jen, hi everyone.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited. We're joined by Roy Gow, one of our platinum advisors. You've been with TPI for how many years now, Roy?
I think about 9 years now.
9 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been with TPI like 4.5 years. So almost half the amount of time you've been with TPI. But you guys, Roy is one of our top producing advisors. And as you know, he is one of the most giving individuals of knowledge. Won the Human Handbook Award at last year's MAG TPI Rocks. And when we decided to launch this Advisor Direct series, Roy was like, I'm happy to talk about all inclusives. I'm like, yes, because I know you kill it with that. So Roy, for those of, we have a lot of new advisors who have joined TPI in the last 6-7 months, so they might not know you as well as some of the others. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell them how you got in the business and how you came about all inclusives.
Well, I've been in the business for quite a while. This is my 20th year. Actually, next month I'm starting my 21st year. But I don't know if we can count this year. I don't know. Corona kind of washed it up. But I started initially with corporate travel. So the first half of my travel experience was in corporate travel. When I actually did decide to make the change and move to the leisure side, I didn't have any idea in terms of all-inclusives, cruises. All I knew, someone told me, we need to get to St. Louis. This is the address. That's the meeting. Get us a hotel car. And that's pretty much what I did for the first 10 years of my travel experience. So I pretty much had to start from scratch and learn. I haven't really been in an all-inclusive. I haven't cruised. I haven't done anything. For me, what worked best is actually traveling, seeing. I made a commitment to travel X amount of time, X amount of trips, see X amount of properties, and I just kept on increasing and increasing the number. At first, you would think, being out of the office and traveling, you don't get to work. But I found that after every trip, even now, I did a recent trip to Mexico, business is booming. People are asking, people are interested. So we'll get to that, with your own fam. But in general, when you are traveling, since you are a travel professional, use social media, let everyone know, let them hate you. I have people hate me so much, especially during winter, when it snows and you're out there and enjoying the destination. Just let them know that you're out there. It helps so much.
Yeah, and you know what? You bring up a really good point, Roy. Roy lives in New Jersey, so it gets cold up there. So do you do a lot of your traveling, your self-guided fams during the winter time? So A, you can get out of the cold, and B, you can really make them jealous?
Well, if we can, we do them because, we also want to get out of the cold. It's also the high season and when it's really, really busy. But people kind of know when I leave, it's going to snow in Jersey. Something's going to happen. So whenever it snows, I'm out there. I'm in the pool. I'm in the ocean. People know that already. They know to expect it. I've had some, inside jokes. People see me check in somewhere in Mexico and they're like, oh my God, we're getting out the shovels. We know already.
It's kind of like when Jim Cantori from the Weather Channel. I don't know if you ever watched the Weather Channel, but here in Florida, it's wherever Jim Cantori is that's where the eye of the hurricane is going to be. You're like, oh no, you don't want to see him on a plane or anything. So that's so funny. So you decided on, so once you left that corporate world and you started out, did you start out when you went into leisure with an agency or you started out on your own, right?
I started on my own with a partner that used to work with me on corporate travel. My kids, my oldest youngest was just born, and I couldn't deal with the 24/7, not even 24. It was like,
Yeah.
every moment of the day people would call you. You had people anywhere around the world at any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I had enough of that. So I decided, I still had a few corporate clients. I still do, maybe 10%, 5% right now of my business is corporate travel. But for the most part, I started giving that and not taking more clients, and learn as much as I can to, know how to sell leisure travel, because it's
It's
different.
totally different. Totally different. Absolutely. And I think both are hard. I don't think either one of them are easy. So you decided on all inclusives mostly because it was easy money. I mean, I know you do groups, you do wedding, you do all kinds of stuff. What is it that you like about selling all inclusives?
Um, First of all, again, originally I arrived from Israel. We don't really have we didn't have a cruise industry at all. There are
Oh yeah.
literally no ships coming to, to Israel. So I had no idea that even existed. So all I knew, again, came from corporate. I know hotels, started traveling and started selling, the easy destinations from here, which are, Mexico, Dominican, Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and once I started, I got hooked and started traveling more and more and more. People saw it, started booking, and it was just, it's just a kept rolling.
Yeah, I
And
mean, if the phone is ringing for that, you don't want to hang up on it. You want to go ahead and answer the call. So,
yeah, I think that you start initially with the properties, with the areas that and once you are ready to get advanced and maybe open up to more destinations, more areas, then you'll have time, spend the time, educate yourself, learn more about other destinations.
mhm.
um, but once you sell one, two, and then you see people are coming back, they're happy, and you sell to the kind of same clientele, whether it's families or couples, again, depending on what you do, it just keeps on rolling.
Mhm.
And we became really busy.
Yeah, yeah. And I can see where, all inclusives, very similar to cruises, are kind of a group activity. Like, you and your next door neighbors want to go, or you and the family want to go. You can gather multiple people to want to go, and it's fairly easy to sell that, whether you create an actual group or not. But let's start from the very beginning, Roy, because first off, you're very popular, as I knew you would be. We've got tons of people on here. So you guys, as Roy and I are going through kind of this type of training, feel free to post questions. One of the questions I asked Roy right away was, okay, so I'm brand new. I want to start selling all inclusives, whether you're new to the industry or maybe you've been selling cruises. Obviously, all inclusives are going to be a lot easier to sell right now than cruises are. We have a little more, flex. I mean, I heard Mexico's up to 60% occupancy now, right? Like they
Right.
can.
They switch from the orange to the yellow, which means the occupancy is rising.
Yeah. So where should an advisor start? So they say, okay, I want to do this. What's the very first thing they need to ask themselves?
I would say initially find out from your area where you have direct flights. They call it airlift. So
Yes.
check out the city pair, see where they're flying to direct.
Right.
If Punta Cana is the destination, or Cancun, or Jamaica, or any other, Bahamas, Nassau, just find out where it's like the easiest way to get into.
Yeah.
Then find like a tour operator that you might want to connect to. Some of the tour operators have charter flights. They have special, unique flights that are not available out there. You won't find them on Expedia orbits and all of that. So you have the advantage there. And
And
start.
I want to pause you there as well. Remember, I love to pretend like I don't know anything, and I like to stay uneducated so I can ask these questions. So that word charter flights, it's not that you're chartering a whole flight, right? So it's like you said, that airlift. So if you live in New Jersey, it's easy to get to the Bahamas, it's easy to get to Cancun, and there are tour operators that kind of they've chartered particular flights So to sell those seats just to their clients, is that correct? Is that how that works?
Right. There are certain levels of charter flights, but you will find some unique products, whether it's a whole plane that's just chartered by the specific tour operator. So they took the
Mm-hmm.
entire plane and they know that they have enough clientele or agents actually to sell the spots. Sometimes you will be able to find them somewhere else, but they're not as available as anywhere else.
Right. And is that
Um,
called unpublished fare? What's the other word for that?
no, I mean fares in general. You'll have unpublished, you have bulk air, you have the published, but it's not necessarily that. Sometimes when they do charter, they'll do like a dedicated vacation or dedicated flight where they'll take X amount of seats from a regular flight, like a Southwest flight or a Frontier flight. This is going to be a regular published air, but they'll still contract, let's say, 100 seats off the plane to
Mhm.
get rates. These rates are normally, they're like package rates. They're really cheap, I would say, affordable, something that you would want to look into it if you're in that specific market.
Okay.
Um, and there's
So,
some tour operators that are stronger in specific markets,
mhm.
like ALG, like the Milwaukee area. There's some that, you just find the right tour operator that is quite strong for your area.
Mhm.
I would start by looking at a few packages. My recommendation would always be when selecting a tour operator, if the flights are with Delta, look at Delta Vacations. If your flights are with United, go to United. Just try American Airlines Vacation. Check all of them. They tend to have an advantage because they control the air.
Right.
So
And
always compare.
that was gonna be my next thing. So it's Lyft wherever you are. So West Coast people, all inclusives are gonna be like Cabo is gonna be easy to get to, right? Cancun still relatively easy for them to get to.
Depends. There are not a lot of direct flights. So if you're doing a connecting flight, let's say through Houston or something, it's going to take you 7, 8 hours to get to Cancun.
Hmm. Yeah, so
But
it's easier to go
Puerto
to.
Vallarta, there's some destinations that you can get to. I think there's an LA to Montego Bay. There's some destinations that you can actually go to.
Mhm.
But if not, I sell to West Coast. But they also tend to, again, know your market, see where people are going.
Mhm.
Most of my Hawaii sales are normally from the West Coast area.
Yeah.
Hawaii, Alaska. Um, but yeah, you could do Cabo, you could do other things. There again, I would say learn your market. I had a lot of people from the San Diego area. They actually there's like a highway now, and they actually go to Mexico and they fly from Mexico. So they
Oh,
fly from Tijuana, I think,
yeah.
and
Well, it's
they
right
get
there. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
Tijuana is like right there when you go to
Yeah,
San
so they
Diego.
have now like a cross-border thing. You actually they don't even really cross the border. There's a road, and then you get to the airport and you fly from there. So I would say learn your market, learn
That
your area, and learn what you're selling.
I love it. I love it. All right. So, for everyone that's watching, I'm seeing all of your questions, not to worry. I'm going to get to them in just a moment. I want to take us kind of through this process first, and then we're going to go back. So, all right. Now I know my market. I recognize that with the tour operators that we have, if there's a flight, so if Delta is a big hub, then I always want to start with Delta Vacations first and then compare that to another one. Now we have lots of tour operators that have all-inclusives in their packages. Other than Lyft and the airline, is there anything else that you look at as a priority for you when choosing an operator to book an all-inclusive? And are there times that you book an all-inclusive direct?
Um, Again, I would go into learning and knowing the product, because some tour operators, like the ALG group, for example, they don't sell a few like the Playa Resorts, Excellence. They're not there's tons of properties right now that they're not selling. So know who's selling who.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to work with just one and then figure out that you're missing a big portion, of the market. So always compare. you want to consider how you do business. So whether you like to book everything online or you need some help and you need to call, there's some suppliers right now that have a really, really long hold time. And there's some that are really easy to work with, even now during COVID.
Yeah.
So if you're beginning and you need some hand holding, find a supplier that has the support that you need. Sometimes their online booking tool is not that great, but you know what, again, just find what's right for you. Some have some services like I think it's called Uplift, or the
Uplift, pay
the
over
payment
time.
plan, right? So find again what's good for you, what works for you. I rotate. I think when we spoke, Jen, I explained, I know TPI has the preferred suppliers. My preferred supplier is TPI. So I like to build my relationship with the host and let them work on building their relationship with the tour operators. So I will book whatever works for my client and for me at the same time, whether it's maybe I get more commission, maybe I get better service, maybe the client gets reduced deposit. And if we book direct, sometimes, especially right now with COVID, there are some suppliers that their policies, their cancellation change policies are a lot better than the tour operators, because the tour operators might have what they call brand fees, so $50 to change or $100 to cancel, stuff like that. And when you work directly with certain all-inclusive properties like Hard Rock, like Charisma, like some of them, they still offer Palace Resorts. They offer Playa. There's a lot of them that are management companies. They still give quite high commission, 17, 21% commission if you book the hotel only. They normally can't service air, so you have to book air separately. But you will know that for the hotel, you'll get a high commission, and they will match whatever's out there in terms of policies. So it could be like 3 days prior to arrival can be the cancellation.
Yeah.
So that's an advantage right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad you recognize one of the things you said is like, who's best for my client? What's the best resort for my client? You've got to be thinking client first. And for us, when we bring on preferred suppliers, that's the very first thing we talk about is who's going to treat our advisors the best, who's going to have the best customer service, who is it that I can pick up the phone and call and yell at if I need to get what one of our advisors needs. It's advisor first, then is it a good product that you guys can sell?
You yell, Jen? I don't think I ever heard you yell.
Me? Oh, I do it in a really nice way, Roy. Trust me. I am, you can ask people, I'm somewhat not feared, but you just don't want to get on my bad side because I'm like, we don't do that to our advisors.
Oh, you know
you
me.
guys, yeah, I know, exactly. So anyway, so that's good. And so now we've decided who we want to go with. Best way to learn before you go to the property, because I know you're going to say the best way to learn is to go to the property. So you narrow it down to maybe an area that's really hot. Like, again, we're thinking like you're fairly new in all inclusives, an area that's hot for your region, maybe 2 or 3 suppliers that kind of turn you on for whatever reasons, right? Whether it be the airline, their commissions, the way they structure stuff. And then the best way for someone to learn, the very first step, what would you recommend?
There's a lot of the suppliers have training programs. A lot of them right now are offering, all these Facebook Lives, a lot of the suppliers. I would spend the time, and we know that we have it, unfortunately, right now, spend the time, educate yourself a little bit. There's tons of videos on YouTube. Go, even consumer or other agents, don't take their video and send it to clients unless you're allowed, but spend the time. I used to spend hours and hours, even before, YouTube was kind of really, really popular. I used to look at TripAdvisor. I would read hundreds of reviews, and specifically, I would read the bad ones, not the good ones.
Yeah.
So whatever works for you, but you need to know as much as possible on the properties that you're promoting, and it can't be from the supplier's website only.
Right.
we've done it. We've seen it. They have some pictures there from 20 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever, or the best room in the house. That's the picture.
Yeah.
Try and get some other agents connect, whether it's on this Facebook group. I also have a Facebook group for travel agents.
Yep.
Go and ask, see if you can, a lot of agents specifically right now are doing a lot of site inspections. Ask them if you could, whether use the pictures or just use their information. Learn as much as possible. That's key.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And especially when it comes to a country you've never been to or a section of that country you've never been to. And use the Facebook page. I agree with you on that, Roy. Also, Marketing Cube, you guys, there's tens of thousands of videos on there. And we're working on a program to where videos like Roy has done and that you guys have seen lots of people have done in photos that they have, beautifully shared on Facebook. We're going to have a place for them to put it so that you guys can go and Google that and pull those. Look at the reviews from advisor to advisor. So we're actually working on that technology for you guys right now. And then again, y'all remember, there's a lot to it. It's not enough to say what's the best all-inclusive in Cancun, right? Like that's not a good question because
I hate these questions on Facebook. Even I hated when my clients ask me what's the best property. I always tell my clients, and I explain to other agents too, that if a family calls me and they have 3 kids, no matter the ages, and then another family calls me, same ages of the kids, they'll probably get a different option. That's part of the qualifying your clients and figure out what's good for them. But I also just like to give them the information and have them pick, because a great property for me doesn't necessarily mean a great property for you as a client.
That's a really good point because that's a really good point because I know your taste, Roy. No, I'm just joking. You and I would stay at the same properties. I'm sure of it. All right. I'm going to pause us now and ask some of these questions. And then I want us to get into terminology because there was all this terminology that people don't understand that I think it's important. And you educated me on a few things. So hang on. I just want to go back here. We have a ton of people. Say hi to your TPI rock stars, Scott and Amanda and Chris and Brendana and everybody. Okay. Hazel said, thank you for sharing your wonderful videos from the resorts in Mexico. They were good. As boring as I would think a live site inspection, because I was like, how is he going to make this exciting? But you really did a good job. You literally.
It was a half an hour, 45 minutes site inspection. I was able to cut down a little bit later with editing.
Yeah.
Kind of helped me a little bit because it is, I'm all by myself.
Yeah, I know.
But it's for the travel professional. I know that I'm selling it to a travel professional, not necessarily for a client. I don't see clients watching a 45-minute video, but take the time. This is pretty much the information that you guys need. The size of the room, how it looks. I'm glad people found it beneficial.
I'll tell you that this was the very first time I saw someone actually get on that margarita bike and actually make a margarita. That was the very first. I've seen 1,000 pictures. I'm like, they're just posing. And I'm like, you made that guy get on there. It was hilarious. So Christine wants to know, when you forward quotes to clients, do you automatically put the travel protection to the quote?
Personally, well, let's say pre-COVID, never. Pre-COVID, never. I tell them, I personally like when I send an option for the amount to be low. Well, if it doesn't matter, but it falls within budget. And then the things that you just have to add, like transfers, insurance, some of the things they'll have to add it later. If your budget is 5,000, you're looking at the 5,000 budget. And then once you're set, okay, now you have to get to the property, right? Now you want to protect your investment. Now, these are the things that are kind of mandatory, so we'll just add them later. But personally, I like to set the budget and the rates and everything because the insurance depends on the cost of the trip. The transfer depends on where they're going. If it's 20-minute ride or an hour-and-a-half drive. So I don't include the rate when I send a proposal. One tip that I'd like to tell my agents, when you actually send a proposal, don't write anything. Like, put the information in, like the hotel, or if you're working with like a sales email, or you copy paste, or you send something, don't elaborate too much on the properties. This is where you call them and say, okay, let's set up a time to go over these options. And then this is the time where you give them the information. Because if you send everything by email, they'll either take the information and maybe Google, maybe go somewhere else. They'll have something written down, compared. If you gave, your whole spiel, everything, the entire encyclopedia, you gave it in an email, you're done. You did your thing. Now, if it's $10 cheaper, oh yeah, we Googled it, we found it, it was $10 cheaper, so we just ended up booking. Oh yeah, I forwarded it to my husband and he liked it, so we booked it.
Yeah.
These are a lot of, responses that we get from, let's say, beginning and sometimes even veteran agents. I found that I send option one is this hotel, this is the room, this is the category.
Done.
Maybe this one is 10 minutes from the airport, this is 50, whatever, a few sentences on each one of them. That's it. Yep. Then you either call them, I sent out an email, when do you have time, let's go over it. And then you give the information, you don't write it.
Yeah.
Again, I just find it beneficial. They also, you can say a lot more when you're talking versus when you're writing it.
And you put the onus on them to be taking dubious notes, right? So instead of you doing all the work for them, for, like you said, to just copy and paste and send it to somebody else. Yeah, I love that.
Also makes it easier, because if you have to spend so much time drafting a proposal, then save the information for after they actually pick the property. Then you can tell them what's close by, the restaurants nearby, or shows, or because they're not going to pick 4 of them, right? They're only going to pick 1. Don't work on 4.
That's true. And that's a good point. When you send that first quote over with multiple resorts, most likely at that point, you've kind of narrowed down to an area, like we're going to Cancun or we're going to Jamaica. And then you send them a couple of things, or you go, hey, listen, based on our conversation, here's where I think you should stay. It's closest to the airport. Do you narrow it to 1, or do you give them 1 or 2 or 3 before you go?
I normally like to send 3 to 4. If I get someone who's, we don't know, maybe Mexico, maybe Dominican, maybe Jamaica, honestly, I go to Vax. I do the ALG sales email, find 3, 4 options, send it to me. And then I'll send it to them in like a 15-20 minute break, so they won't think, they get 4 emails. So they'll get 1 email every 20 minutes. So they think that it took me, that much time to send. And that's pretty much it. Again, not too much information. Let them click on some of the links, let them look. When they're ready, let's discuss, let's go over, and then we can maybe make a decision. It happens where we need to narrow it down again, maybe even different options based on what I sent. And I did a session about it earlier about qualifying your client. So the more questions you will ask, the more information that you will have, the less times you'll go with the back and forth. We
have a decent qualifying sheet on TPI Central. I don't know if you've got a better one, but we have a decent one on TPI Central for many of you guys to ask those kind of questions. But I think also when you're going through the learning process, and again, we're talking about all-inclusives, you're going to see the differences with the different all-inclusives. And when we get to the terminology, lots of things to understand. And those should be part of your qualifying questions. Like, how much time are you going to just stay at the resort? Is this a place that you want to go and you want to go to, are there a lot of excursions? Are you an excursion type family? Are you just wanting to sit on the beach? I mean, anyone who says, I don't know, Jamaica, maybe the DR, Cancun, to me, that's like they just are looking for a pool and a beach, maybe even a beach, just like they just want to get away. It's not about
and
that.
If you ask the right questions, you'll find out that, they want to go to DR, but they want to do tons of excursions, which, again, there's some destinations that have more than, than the rest.
Sure.
need
And
to.
family, no family, you know, they want to be sitting topless with somebody else. That's a different resort than the kids resort.
Yeah, and again,
Um,
the more questions or the more answers, the more restrictions that you will get from clients, the better it will be for you. It just makes it a lot easier. When you learn the market, and I sell a lot to families, when I see, I ask them the ages of the kids, and 2-year-old, and they're like, "Are you looking into putting the child, the baby, in the kids club, like an actual kids club where you drop the kid and you go, not just a place to play?" If they say yes, I narrow it down to maybe 5, 6 properties in Mexico, like the
yeah,
entire Cancun area, because I know that this is what they need.
yeah,
Um,
that's so important.
so
And you'll
ask the
learn.
questions, whether it's food, allergies, accessibility, how big the property, and explain to them that big property means, getting out of your room, taking a shuttle to get to the beach or to the restaurants, or some that I think it was what, Margaritaville or whatever. I counted steps, how many steps to get to the bar, or
It
how
was
many steps to
110
get to the
steps,
beach.
I remember.
Yeah. So again, depends on what's important for the client, for the family that is going.
Mhm.
The more information that you get from them, the easier it will be to sell.
Yeah, and I bet you could probably spend 2 hours talking about the difference, the things you have to be thinking about. With somebody selling a cruise, they understand, more forward and in the back, you're going to be like rocking and rolling. In the middle, you're not going to be rocking and rolling as much. But if you're on this particular deck, on this particular ship, you're right near the food area, or you're underneath a lounge area or whatever. There's so many people that go, yeah, I want a room near the pool. Well, if that's a place that's like partying until 11 p.m. and you don't want that noise and racket in your life, then that's not going to be a good place. These are things that clients don't understand because they don't know the properties. All right, I've got some more. Boy, we got lots of people on here asking lots of questions. Randy and a couple of other people were asking the same question, and you and I were going to talk about it. How do you convert a cruise client to an all-inclusive client? And are they the same type of client? And Roy and I kind of talked a little bit about that, and we think, yeah, in many cases, right?
It again depends. I would be able to convert a cruiser to an all-inclusive easily. Other way around, probably not. It's a little harder to get a person on a cruise ship, especially right now, but in general. um, but I think it's a lot easier to convert them to an all-inclusive.
Mhm.
Look, the advantages of selling cruises. The advantages are different, or we sell, when you sell a cruise, you unpack once, you get several destinations. Well, you don't get it at an all-inclusive for the most part, if you're doing one destination, but you do get to enjoy the destination. You do get to experience the destination. When you're at a cruise port and you're stopping there for 7 hours, 2 of them are just waking up and having breakfast, and another hour is just to arrive to the ship.
Mhm.
You only have what, net 4, 5 hours, maybe.
Mhm. Mhm.
You don't really get to enjoy the destination.
Yep.
When you're in an all-inclusive, you have time. You can also decide if you want to do 3, 4, 5, 10 days, 12 days. You're not bound to a Saturday, Sunday departure or stuff like that. You control whenever you actually arrive and leave.
And you're
Uh,
not set on any timer either. That's one thing is, you can choose your own excursion without having to be with a group, right? Or you can go out on your own, or you can just choose that day and go, you know what, we don't want to do the parachuting. We're just going to sit here by the pool. And then aren't there some all-inclusives where the resort itself is the destination and you never need to leave the resort, right?
Yeah, there's some properties that have similar to, let's say, on a cruise ship, but there's more space. So,
Mhm.
there's some there's mega ships, there are mega resorts with, um, you can get bike rentals even for free,
Mhm.
tennis, obstacle courses, water slides, water park, big water parks, huge pools. There's so many things to your bowling alleys, casinos. There's a lot to do on some of the properties
Mhm.
in certain destinations. And remember, the room is a lot bigger.
Way bigger. Oh my God, the rooms are huge. They're ridiculous.
Rooms are huge. Normally, the room
And their
service
air
is
conditioner.
included. There are a lot of there are more inclusions. Normally, alcohol is included. You don't need to add a beverage package. So I would say, again, go back to learning. But if a person is a cruiser, and right now there's no options to cruise, the only big disadvantage is, whether they want to drive to the ship, local areas, you can't do that. You have to, unless you're in a specific certain area. But for the most part, they'll have to fly. They'll have to take a car to get to the thing. So the first day of arrival and the whole thing just takes time. But once you're there, it's relaxed. You can be as busy as you want, and you could change your plan tomorrow. The ship is not going, the resort is not going anywhere.
Right, exactly. I love an all-inclusive, and they're getting better with their food now that there's COVID. There's not, the big buffets. And Effie, who's a big foodie, has been in multiple all-inclusives, and she's like, the food is so much better now. So I think it's cool. Ravi's got a question. He said, what hotel chains pay higher commission? In other words, how do you decide whether or not you're going to book direct or through a supplier, right? Like, are there particular, like, does Hard Rock pay higher if you book direct versus if you go through a tour operator, so on and so forth?
Well, in general, I just want to say that I don't pick the property based on the commission. So, right. But I do have my preferred.
Okay, so let me go back here. Hang on. When you forward the supplier quote, do you cut out and block the supplier information is one of the questions.
Normally, yes. It depends on the client and depends on the initial, if it's the first communication, yes. Yeah, okay. I would normally, especially if they sell direct, but yeah.
And then here's another one. Veronica wants to know, do you charge a research or planning fee?
I think it really depends on your market, your clientele. Most of my clientele are referrals, repeat business. Again, remember, I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it depends on why you feel that you need to charge. Whether are you spending time researching, sending options, and they're not booking? If so, and you want to eliminate, the tire kickers and stuff like that, then yeah, you might want to implement a fee. I do have, sometimes I'll have fees, especially for my corporate clients. I will mark up something sometimes if I know that I got a really good price, something like that, or if I'm, not making enough on the booking. But for the most part, and the clientele, if my average is, $500-600 commission per booking, I don't feel a need to add more. I might consider maybe charging, adding a cancellation fee right now because of what happened. But for the most part, my closing is, like 80-90% closings. I don't feel I need to charge a fee to get rid of the tire kickers. If you're only closing 30-40%, a lot of people are just calling and just asking stuff, then yeah, you need to make sure that you actually work with the people who want to work with you.
Yeah, and I think one of the positives about selling an all-inclusive, especially if you can put the air in with it, right? Like if you can package the air with it, is it's harder for them to try to shop that around. And if I were a travel advisor and I decided to sell all-inclusives, I would definitely do a ton of qualifying up front with regards to asking them a lot of questions, because that does two things. One, it shows you're going to hit the nail on the head with those 3 quotes that you send over, and they're like, okay, she gets me, right? And number 2, it creates a relationship with them where they're kind of like, all right, I kind of need to, there's a guilt factor in there. And then it also gives you a chance to walk them through your process. So Roy, you know, if I were an advisor, I would do what you do, right? You'd send over some minimum information and say, okay, now our next step is we're going to spend 15 minutes on the phone and we're going to narrow this down. And then our next step is I'm going to require a credit card. And you're kind of walking them through a step. And part of that has to be the assumptive close, that you're assuming that you're doing all the steps, and their step is they're going to give you the credit card, right? I mean, we have to
Right.
get down to it. You have to ask for the credit card.
Right. People always say ask for the sale. I also, during the initial qualifying the client, I take a little bit of time and explain if they need. One of my questions that have you worked with a travel agent before? If they have, it's good, you know. But if they haven't, now is a good time to mention, just so you'll know whether you're charging a fee or let's say you're not charging a fee. They need to know that the only way that you make money is you actually book it.
Good.
Again, I've seen a lot of responses on Facebook is like, you know, with, yeah, thank you, good, we loved it. I mean, so yeah, we booked it. We're good. Thank you. You helped us a lot. We'll use you next time as well. I'm like, yeah, you used me, but you need to actually book with me. So people need to, sometimes if people don't understand, they don't know.
It's not a sometimes thing. It's like you said, asking, have you ever worked with a travel advisor is a great qualifying question because you understand their experience. Yeah, consumers don't know. I could go on a tangent on that, but I won't. Let's stick to all inclusives. Okay. Cindy Frazier wants to know, what's the percentage of your clients that do things outside of the resorts versus just hanging out at the beach and the bar?
Well, I try and sell at least one excursion.
Okay.
Per, let's say, a week. I do know that a lot of people book stuff while they're there. They book direct, they book whatever, they book it on property. But sometimes people just don't want to commit. It's part of selling the all-inclusive as a flexible thing. So I don't know if I'm going to like the property. I don't know what the weather is going to be, especially if you're selling them during like summer, you know, it's hurricane season, you don't really know. So people like the flexibility. They don't want to commit to a certain day, certain time. So I try and push maybe one excursion, you know, the third day or fourth day, depending on how many days they're there. And for the rest, like if they feel comfortable, they want to reach out to me, I'll book it while they're there. Yeah. But for the most part, I find that they just, you know, they book on their own.
And I would agree with you on that. I think people who are going to certain all-inclusives, they're doing it because they just want to relax. Like, that's the reason why I get on a ship. I just want to relax. I don't want to have to be committed to anything. And that would be the reason to go to some sort of resort. Randy's asking, what are your preferred properties? We're going to get into, because it's not that Roy has preferred properties, it's preferred on his clients, but we're going to talk about categories of properties too here in a second. I want to get to the rest of our stuff. Hang on, guys. I'm seeing all of your questions. Bonnie, we're going to come back to your question. Hang on. I'm going to come back to your questions. Let's talk terminology real quick. What are some of the terms that advisors really need to be aware of? And one of the things I want to make sure you touch on is I said, hey, tell us your favorite 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star properties. And Roy educated me on that there is no such a thing. So in the way I look at it. So let's talk about certain terminologies. What are some of the things they need to learn? And I know they're going to get some of this in training, but.
So when we spoke about stars, it's really important for people to understand that the stars don't necessarily mean quality. I mean, they can, but for the most part, when the company that gives stars away, they check, they have a pool, good, you got 1 point. They offer room service, okay, they got a star. So you can have properties that you would consider a 3-star or 3.5 star in an area like Cancun, and they'll get 5-star, not because they're like luxury. So I would categorize them maybe like a 4, 5 in luxury. There's no, like, you don't want to, if a property got 3 stars in Cancun with everything that I've mentioned, you probably don't want to get there.
No.
And you'll also see that the star rating is different from one supplier to another. I think most RIU properties are 5-star on their property, sometimes even, I don't know, Apple, I think used to do like the Apple, 7 apples, or everyone has their own like kind of rating. So I would kind of steer away from rating.
Mm-hmm.
When I do a search, I will always do 5-star. If the budget is really low, I will maybe add 4 to the search and try and do like there's like you'll find out there's like low 4s and the high 4s or solid 4s. These are kind of like the terminology that I would use when I'm explaining to my clients. This is like a entry level 5-star, stuff
Yeah.
like that, because they need to understand, oh, but on their website it's 5-star. Yeah, but no. So,
It's a low B. It's not a low A, right? Exactly.
yeah, it's like give your own rating, so they can write whatever they want. So yeah, everyone's 5-star.
Yeah,
But
exactly. And a lot of it, again, food plays a role, alcohol choices play a role. I think we were talking like Ryu is very like, it's like rot gut kind of out. It's like, no.
Service there is, I would say, medium basic. Food as well. The properties are normally well maintained. So the rooms are pretty big. The decor is nice. The property itself is good. And there's like worse. I had someone asking today about, like an H10, like Ocean Maya, there's Ocean in Punta Cana. They were asking about Panama Jack. You need to know the brands. You need to know, whenever I do, and we'll probably get to it with the FAMs, but whenever I do a FAM, I like to go and get like one that is like, I see it a lot because it's really cheap. So should I sell it? I always like to go there, whether I sell it or not. I always like to see it in my own eyes so I can compare. Some are like, I know why I'm not selling this. And sometimes it's like, oh, maybe it's something to, you could check it out. And I will never, okay, now the next 10 clients are going to go there.
Right.
No, it's normally go, wait until they come back, and then we'll see.
Exactly. So can you give us some of the brands that you find are more consistent, like that you feel confident no matter where they are, that it's something that you feel confident you could send to? Would you mind sharing that?
I would, but I would also caution and say that same as, a review changes a lot. I will go to several properties, even, I've been here last year. I still want to go and revisit and check again because things change. Management changed, wear and tear. The property was great 5 years ago. Now it's not so much. When I sell to families, I like the Palaces, the Hard Rock. We sell a lot of the Hyatt Ziva. There's certain Royaltons are really, really popular for us. We do a lot of Club Med. So, but it depends again on the clientele. And when you do families, when you do adults only, then you have, the Unico, which is kind of like the same, as the Hard Rock in terms of the concept, and you have the Hideaways. So that you need to know again what you're selling, whether it's a portion of the hotel that is adults only within a large property, or a complete whole adults only properties. We sell Secrets, we sell Breathless, we sell Excellence. We sell a lot of the regular brands that are out there. It's just, but it really depends on the client, and it also comes in waves. So sometimes I'll have like 20 go to the Escaret Hotel, and then 20 families go to the Royaltons, and then we won't have anything for the next whatever. So it depends. It really changes, and I always ask, whether when they come back or when they call me again for the next trip, how was it? Just to know, because sometimes properties are just, they have to go on my do not sell list or a gray list. Let's check them out and see what's going on.
Yeah. So Cindy's asking, Sarah, who's a fairly new agent. And Sarah, I'm not sure if you've been listening the whole time. We answered this question a little bit in the beginning, but I like how she's positioning it. As a new agent, what would be the first two all-inclusive families that might be the easiest for me to learn about all inclusives? Like, you know, is Sandals super easy? Do they have great training and I can learn about all inclusives? Is it, you know, Dreams and Beaches, you know, like the AM resorts or what have you? Do you have any recommendations for that?
I don't think you can take one specific brand because there's a lot. There's a big difference. You know, if we talked about the Hard Rock when they
Yep.
have the resort credit included, or Palace used to have that, they don't have that anymore. Sandals Beaches is a great option, but they're normally on the. It's a little bit misleading because with Sandals and Beaches, they're selling the high suites, the categories, the amazing butler service. If you book the deluxe categories, which is the basic one, you don't even get room service.
Yeah.
So I would spend a little bit of time comparing and seeing the difference between a few chains. And there's some properties like Dreams that you've mentioned. I do have some Dreams properties that are off my list. Like, I will never sell them. There's some specific properties that are bad, even though it's chain. So it's not always cross. You know, Hard Rock in Cancun is different than the Hard Rock in Riviera Maya or the one in Punta Cana. Same for Hyatt's, you know, Hyatt Ziva in Cap Cana and the one in Cancun. That really, really different.
Yeah, and that's important to understand when you're learning. So I'm glad this question has come up, because it's not like Chick-fil-A, like the waffle fries taste the same at every Chick-fil-A, right? But that's not necessarily the case when it comes to, and even in hotels, you know, you can go to a Hyatt in downtown Dallas, it feels very different than a Hyatt in downtown Orlando, because it's different management properties. So guys, we're going to close this portion of the conversation by saying this. Go back to what Roy said in the very beginning. Where is your lift from? So if you live in Jersey, where is it that your people and your clients are mostly local? Where is it that your people can get to easier? What's the, you know, the easiest airlift to it? Focus on that destination first. Look at those different properties within that. Also look at the preferred suppliers that TPI has, because we've vetted them. But even within the preferred suppliers, there's going to be some hits or misses as you travel to different parts of the country, or the other countries, I should say. So I think you kind of have to start small, learn, understand, and then kind of go from there. Raj, yes, we do have a qualifying sheet on TPI Central. God knows I have no idea where it is. It's probably under business development somewhere. Candace wants to know, what brands do you stay away from? I know it's a hard one.
It's a hard one, but again, it really depends on the clientele. But as I've mentioned, like the H10 Ocean, I will normally avoid. I like the higher end. You know, slightly more, you know, Rios, I don't tend to sell them, but I did a huge destination wedding last year at one of the Rios in Jamaica. So again, it's not what I would stay away. It depends on the client. If a Rio or an H10 Ocean, hopefully that's not gonna get to that. But if I have a client that is really, that's what they want, I'll put a disclaimer and I'll sell it. You know, we're there to sell.
Close that sound.
If I won't sell it, someone else will, or they'll go online. So if they're really pushing for one, I'll put a disclaimer in the bottom, like,
I'm selling it to you, but I didn't recommend it to you. So what's some of the key terminology that they should know? Because I know there's a difference between all-inclusive. What was it that you and I were talking about? There's some all-inclusives that are just the breakfast plan, right?
Right now during COVID, because they want to avoid, some people don't want to go with the all-inclusive option. So the AM properties, they now have optional luxury. So optional luxury all-inclusive or something like that they added. So just look at the prices, look at the rates. The cheaper ones normally just say breakfast included. And not the all-inclusive. And I've seen other properties, especially in Mexico, Playa del Carmen area, because some of the restaurants there are closed. They actually added an all-inclusive option. So read the description, verify. The hotel right now can be an all-inclusive property, but you are buying a breakfast-only package, or vice versa. So just double check the description of the room category.
And I think it's really important. You mentioned something a few moments ago. Read the room category in the description, because not all room categories have room service. Like, I didn't know that. I thought if I was at an all-inclusive, I could get room service no matter where I stayed, but that's not necessarily a true statement.
Some properties won't have room service. Some will have them on limited times, like until 7 to 7, and some will charge a fee.
Yeah.
Could be $10 a person reserving, or $10 for the whole. It depends. Normally on the lower levels, they'll have some restrictions, and on the higher ones, yeah, you could have them come and go.
So the key to that is not all inclusives are the same. And so make sure you read the descriptions. And again, if I were new to all inclusives, I take Roy's advice. Where do you live? Where do your clients live? What's the closest country place that they can get to? Then start diving into those all inclusives there. And then you can get your good, better, best type mentality put together for that. So groups. What do we need to know about groups, and do most of these all-inclusives have good groups departments that you can pick up the phone for, like a destination wedding or for, like, a bachelorette party or something like that? What can you share with us about that?
If we're comparing cruises, if you used to selling groups on cruises and now you're going into an all-inclusive, this can't be more different than it's totally different. When you are doing a group on a land, let's say a package, there's certain levels. You have a small group where you normally just get like a promo code, you plug it in, you maybe get $20, $25 discount. Maybe later, if you got 5-10 rooms, the client will get some sort of a perk. There's normally TCs like on like with the cruises, but if you're doing a contracted group, more than 5, 6, 10 rooms, you will most likely have to sign a contract, put a deposit. Deposits are normally non-refundable. It's not as easy to just hold space and just publish the prices, and then air changes, the rate for air changes all the time unless you do a contract group air. So groups are
a whole nother animal.
Say advanced. They're trickier. If you have a few families coming together, 4 families traveling together, you already have the 5 rooms. Yes, a lot of the suppliers they call it like groups your way, or small groups. You get a code, you can just go for it. If it's a bigger one, 100 people traveling, a destination wedding, and it's a contract involved, it's trickier. Take your time, read the contract. I normally do like another contract that I have my clients sell. So I sign a contract with the tour operator, and the client will send some sort of we'll get like an identical contract with me. I would call it advanced. If you are a beginner agent, just started, and you get 100 people wanting to go, try and maybe partner up with someone for the first group, because it can be quite difficult, and they don't really update rates after the contract is signed. If you're used to groups on cruises, this is not the same at all. It can't be more different than so
I love it. Heather's got a great question. She says, do you check the property website as well as the tour operator website for the info on the room category? Are you seeing any kind of disconnect between the two?
There's some suppliers that are bad with descriptions. Most of them are pretty good. They just copy paste, or they get the information. For the most part, it is the same. I don't really look at the description. I like to look at the picture. I like to look at the video, and then I know exactly what's in the room. I don't necessarily care if, there's some, if they have it or.
Yeah, I think she was asking because we were saying make sure you check the details on the room categories. I think that's what she's asking for.
There's a difference between the room category and we'll call it the fare description, meaning, this rate qualifies for better commission. This rate qualifies for an upgrade. They get $50, they get an extra, they get private transfers if they book that one. It's like the rate, the promotion information. So you want to get into that. The description itself, the website, the hotel website would be the most accurate for sure. I find that they're almost the same. There's some suppliers that are really bad. I don't know if we still, what was it? I forgot the name. I wouldn't mention them, but there's some that are really bad. But for the most part, most of the well-known ones are good. You could trust what it's written there. But note that it's, for the most part, it's different than the cruise. You don't pick your room number. You don't pick 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is my room. This is how it's going to look. It's cookie cutter. Rooms are different. Room number 1 and room number 2 on a resort are different. They might, when they built them, you know, I go and I checked, I think it was the Hard Rock in Cancun. I asked, how many rooms do we have? 601. Why one? When they built it, they had like an extra thing. So they had an extra room. You don't necessarily want to get that room, but
no.
But you so take a look at the videos, take a look at the pictures, as current as possible. If you're filtering by videos or pictures, try and look for something from the last 6 months. And then
always, and then feel free to ask the question on the Facebook page. And Roy, I want to make sure they know your Facebook page, that you have advisors from all over. But don't ask the question, what's the best all-inclusive resort in Cancun? That's not going to get you an answer. But if you're narrowed it down and you've not been to either one of the resorts, you can say which one of the 2 works best for a family with 3 kids, where they want to drop the kids off and never see them again until the end of the trip. That's more specific, and that you'll be able to get some answers on.
Right, because some properties and some rooms, they have like really large rooms, and some rooms will be really small.
Yeah. And some of them, they have what is it with Mexico and the bathtub being like in the middle of the room? I never have understood that. And weren't you at some resort recent and you were filming and you're like, is there like a curtain? Is there something? Where were you? You were somewhere. And I'm like, I'm with you, Roy. How are you going to go to take a shower? It was like, it was wide open for everybody. Crazy.
There are some properties that they make you look for it. I remember I was at Hotel Xcaret with my son. For the first 3 days, I think I took a shower. I didn't even know there was a door because they kind of hid it. I didn't do the tour. You know, when they come and they show you the room.
Yeah.
I think I skipped it because I'm a travel professional. I don't really need it. I needed that. I didn't even know where the bottle opener was.
Yeah, exactly. So, everybody look the other way. Daddy's taking a shower. Cindy Becker said she'd love, this info is very valuable. She said, I think you should do a cheat sheet and we could buy it from you, Roy. So Cindy, just reach out to Roy and I'm sure he's got something. I don't know if he'll sell it to you, but Roy, do you post resort package deals on your social media pages? What type of social media advertising do you do? Great question, Christine. And I think somebody had asked that question earlier. Do you post promos and offers on your Facebook to kind of drum up?
Well, you said Facebook. I use mostly Facebook for my social media. I have a business page. I have my personal page, and I created a page. It's called Deals by Memories Forever. And I have a page that just does reviews for hotels, for clientele. So it depends on the rate. The chances of someone actually booking a specific package that you price for a certain date for that specific property are like really, really, really low, unless it's a break from school or stuff like that. What I would normally do, let's say, I know Christmas is busy. I know spring break, February break, summer, the destinations, I would just throw it out there. Like, here's an example for a price. Here's an example for a rate. Maybe post a video of a hotel that I've been, or a picture. Imagine this hotel, just so you'll know. For example, August 10th until the 17th, this is $2,000 for 2 adults and 3 kids, ages whatever, under 12.
Perfect.
So again, the chances of them actually saying, oh yes, I want that specific one, are slim. But if they, for the most part, is like, oh, I love that Mexico thing. What do you have for London? You know, it's just, it doesn't really matter. Once you start the conversation going, they know to reach out to you. They'll ask what they need.
Yep. It is so, so true. So often people to put too much thought into some of this stuff, and it's not necessary. It's really, you're showing yourself as, you're giving them an example, something to shoot for, and then they're like, it just does not matter. It's the law of sales. I remember I used to make proactive phone. I'd say to people, call 5 people by 5 o'clock every single day, and you'll get business. And it won't be from those 5 people. As a matter of fact, it won't be from anybody you've talked to in the last 30 days. Chances are it's somebody else. There's just a law out there. Veronica wants to know from she's got a wedding of 100 plus. She's looking for a Cancun. She goes, is the Hideaway Royalton Cancun a good property for a wedding of 100 plus guests? Meaning, are they easy to work with? Do you have any experience with them from an easy to work with standpoint?
I can tell you specifically. I did the Royalton Hideaway. I did a site inspection, so you could go and take a look. But in general, again, know the property. Royalton is one of the largest properties, so they have 1,100 rooms. Think about it. You have 4,000 or 5,000 people over there. The Hideaway section is kind of separated section, but most restaurants are together. So you need to understand the property if they really truly need an adults only. When you have 100 people, just make sure that they're not bringing kids. I've done tons of destination wedding where kids are coming. So double check that. Having an option like that where there's a section that is adults only within a property normally makes it cheaper compared to a truly adults only property. But I would compare. I would give the clients the option. Royalton specifically does not have a really good beach. So again, qualify the client, find out what's important for them. If a beach is important, the resort itself is really large, but it is walkable. There's not a lot of there's no shuttles or stuff like that, but it's still a fairly big property.
Have you ever worked with their groups department? She's asking if they're easy to work with. Have you?
I don't work normally. I wouldn't do a group contract directly with the hotel unless I'm doing a buyout. So I would always try and work with a tour operator. It's a lot easier to work with when you're working directly with the hotel. And I've had situations that you need to wire the money to them. They won't accept client credit cards. It has to be you. It's a lot trickier in terms of, when you're working with a groups department for 90% of the time or 95, you're working with a tour operator group department.
Who's the tour operator for Royalton? Who carries Royalton?
Well, Royalton is Blue Diamonds. They're actually own sister company with Vacation Express.
Vacation
so
Express.
I don't know if you, but you don't have to work with. I have a group at the Royalton Punta Cana for next year, a large group. I booked them with Travel Impressions. It really depends. And honestly, the Vacation Express commission was, I think, 13. The commission with Travel Impressions was 15 or 16. Price was identical, so I just worked with. And Vacation Express groups are okay. They're not too easy to work with sometimes. So that's part of knowing. But if your concern is group department, work with a tour operator group department. Working with the property itself after clients are arriving has been pretty good. I have contact on site. If you end up actually working with them, reach out to me. I'll connect you with Angel. He's been great. You get to select a specific room that you want, upgrades for the bride and groom. They're really good.
That's awesome. Veronica, congratulations on that. That's awesome. Cool. Raj says, thanks for the lift, Roy. So he's very happy. Randy, we're going to share Roy's Facebook pages in just a second. Roy, we've been talking for over an hour. I know I could talk for 2 hours with you. You're filled with so much information. Let's talk about people who are trying to put together their own little fam or, let's talk about it. It's hard to do it on your own, but maybe a group of advisors. Share with us. I know you do it several times a year, and you've always invited other advisors to join you. But talk about if somebody wanted to do it with a group of 5 advisors, what would be the best way to put together their own fam?
I would start small. So the first thing that I would do, let's say you're already at the destination, you're going for a family vacation, take a day or two, set up a full day of site inspections, reach out, maybe the properties that are next door to you, that are easier to get to. If you also a tip, accounting tip, a tax tip. If you set up meetings and you have them written down and everything is documented, you can probably write off most of that trip as a business trip because you did, the site inspection. So first one would be the host hotel and maybe some of their partners. You can reach out to the tour operators, the destination management companies. So Amstar, Lomas, all these companies, maybe get a driver for a day, set up site inspections. And again, it's easy, you're already there. Now, if you're not there and you're actually going there specifically to the property to do site inspections, first one should probably be the ones that you sell the most. As you guys probably know, you have the sell and stay, you get points, utilize the free nights that you're getting to actually stay on properties. And then do the same. I try and do normally 5, 6, sometimes 7 properties a day. So it's really packed. I'll have a trip that is dedicated just for site inspections. Like I'll go on my own or maybe with a few agents. When I think at this point right now, because we sell quite a bit, my group sells quite a bit. When I call, I ask for 10, 15 rooms. Normally invite agents. It's normally free. We'll just cover the cost of the driver or something like that to take us. But for the most part, that's what we do. Reach out to the BDM, reach out to the sales team on property. Make sure that they know that you guys are arriving. Some of them are really nice. They'll put your logo on stuff. I've had my logo on a coffee mug. Like they did so many things.
Love it.
They'll put some of them on the beds.
Yeah.
And they'll put your logo at the reception, like on the big screens, you're arriving. They need you as a travel advisor to sell their property. They do it a lot. They'll do it 4 or 5 times a day. I don't know if they like doing it, but they have to do it. And for the most part, they're always happy to do it. So reach out to the properties, reach out to your connections. And remember, there are a lot of tour operators that offer FAMs. So if you don't have free nights, you think it's difficult for you to try and arrange it, there are supplier FAMs out there. You could just join a FAM, and then later when you have enough production, when you have enough sales, you can hopefully qualify for free rooms and go for it.
I think we're frozen on the Facebook, but we're going to keep talking. So Barbara wants to know, do you contact the sales manager or the general manager to arrange those individual site inspections?
Normally whoever my contact is. Otherwise it's going to be sales, could be BDM to try and, like Playa, I'll send it to my Playa BDM and they'll connect me with the individual hotels.
And you guys can just use TPI Central, go to the supplier directory, click on our supplier rep, and try them first. Anytime you're sending an email where you're trying to get a FAM, feel free to copy me in it, or make sure you say you're with Travel Planners International. Drop that name because that definitely helps. Do you book with the prop? So Marissa, we just answered that question. You book it, either with the BDM, pick up the phone and call them, or you can book it with the property manager.
And if you're there at a specific time, don't be embarrassed to ask for breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's a good time for you to taste the food as well. They'll be happy to, host you for breakfast, or you come back later. I've done breakfast, lunch, dinner at certain properties. Get a business card, get the information. If you book later with the property, email them, let them know, maybe send them an email. Thank you for, hosting me. It's all about building a relationship.
Yes.
It's you have a gold mine. You have the person and you've met them, and they'll tell it to you as well. If you have clients, send me the information. They'll actually do something with it. If they've seen you before, you visited them, they'll take care of your clients.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that is one of the most underutilized opportunities out there, is building that relationship with people on site, because the on-site people, you're going to need them at some point. And they do remember. If you say, hey, listen, thank you for the tour 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago or 3 years ago, I'm sending a couple there, they're going to do something about it. And I think a lot of advisors don't understand that they want you to do that, because they want everyone to feel so special when they walk in the door, and they want to partner with you, so you send more people. So Christine and many of you guys keep asking questions about, do you have a preferred supplier you like to book with? And the answer is no. Roy, go back to the beginning. I know we've been talking for over an hour, but it's really about, I think we might be frozen on Facebook. It's really about finding what's the best for you, and start small, and then build your repertoire of who you like to work with from there. But Roy, you kind of work with a variety of different places. It's not just one particular place. Or
right. The suppliers change, and I've along the years, specifically, I've done a couple of site inspections right now. When I was in Mexico, 2 of the people that hosted me actually hosted me on another property a few years back. So they also moved from one. There was one from Lomas that actually moved to Excellence. It's like, yeah, I recognize the name, but I wasn't sure. So it's fine. You build that relationship, and it holds for years. And again, with the tour operators, find what works for you. And I would highly encourage you to diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because things sometimes happen, in terms of service, or they might lose the chain that you like to work with.
Exactly. The people don't change, just their business cards. That's this industry for sure. Christine wants to know, what's the standard protocol etiquette after attending a site inspection at a resort? Follow up with an email to the sales manager, or to the GM or the hotel. Probably all of them, but mostly also the person that took you on the site inspection, right?
When you're setting it up,
she said protocol afterwards. Protocol
right.
Afterwards.
If you are setting it up, then you'll have the email of everyone in that communication. I would normally just reply to all. If not, I would just, whoever gave me his business card, I will send it. Some of them are really quick. I can't even finish the day of work, and they already sent out an email, thank you for coming, stuff like that. So just reply, and
Yeah, Cindy Becker has a good idea. She said it's all about the relationship. She always takes something from her local state for them, because it helps you stand out. So that's kind of cute, right? Like something
it's cute, but it's the same as people asking me, are you bringing your family members, a gift or something. I do 12, 14 trips a year. If I had to bring something, I do 6, 7 site inspections a day. Normally I'll do like 20, 25, and can think of how much stuff I need to carry just to give stuff to people.
Beef steak tomatoes, tomatoes from New Jersey, best tomatoes in the world.
Yeah, I don't think you can enter with vegetables and fruit, but I probably, and they'll probably say it, the best gift that you can give them is business. So that's why I try, it's relationship, but we're not friends. I don't call them to tell them happy birthday, but we build the relationship, and they respect it because you bring them business.
Cindy said you're in a different league.
You got to start somewhere, and you know what, you can be in your own league when you're selling 1 or 2. You could sell $500,000, but if that $500,000 is just in Mexico or just in that specific area, you're a big time player. You don't have to sell $5 million.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. We've been talking for almost an hour and a half. What have we missed that you want to share with everybody? And I've already had 3 people ask for you to come back to talk about anything. So, and we want to make sure we share your Facebook pages. Let's do that right now. What are the Facebook page? What's your other Facebook page that I know?
The main Facebook page that we use for agents is Travel Agents Helping Each Other. Similar on YouTube, you can go and look it up, Travel Agents Helping Each Other. All the videos, we do tons of live sessions with suppliers, we do agent panels, people ask questions. It's a large group. I think we're at 4,800 agents. We had about 3,000 before COVID started. So we added almost 2,000 agents since COVID, just trying to help everyone to survive this.
Yeah, it's an awesome page. He does a great job. So that's where you find Mr. Roy. That's the best place to find him. Is there any other resources you want to share with them?
No, that's pretty much it. We're here to help each other for the community, and I'm sometimes here. I used to be more on the TPI page, but not so much.
Well, you're welcome to be on the page, Roy. We miss you.
I'm there. I'm on the page. It's just it becomes overwhelming. You have tons of people always they message me. Feel free to be my friend on Facebook. That's fine. Most of my posts are public anyway. When you're sending me a message, sometimes I honestly get 10, 20 messages a day. I can't reply to everyone. Try and ask the question within the group. People will help you. I will try to, but don't be offended if I don't reply to your message. I sometimes get 20, 30 messages a day, and most of them are, oh, what's your preferred all-inclusive in Mexico? Which I can't.
Like, that's not a good question. Don't ask that question, guys. And you know what? It's funny. It's not funny. But a lot of the newer agents, we try to help them understand that the best way to ask a question for this group is to have some details, to do some research first. There is no best of anything when it comes to that. This is really about your client. It's a client first mentality. What you have to qualify your client, and then you can match the right experience. But I know
you're going to get 50. If you are getting answers, you're going to get 50 different answers, and that won't help you at all. But if you ask the right, family, X amount, these are the kids, they've been last year at whatever, they really liked it, but now they want something. Just, if you don't know these, that information, these values within that, that means you haven't asked the right questions. You need to go back to your client, ask the right question, get all the information. If a client just sends you, these are dates, or I'm looking to get away, what's the best deal that you have there? That's not even a lead. That's nothing. You need to reach out to the client and get more information.
Absolutely. I believe in that completely. The only solid answer that I can give to a question, what's the best of, is what's the best airline? And for me, it's Delta. But it's not necessarily the same for everybody else. Everybody is saying thank you so very much, and I can't thank you enough for your time, Roy. We'll have to get together again and come up with another topic that you can rock and roll with. But you guys, I think these Advisor Direct Facebook Lives are really, really good. The very next one is going to be next Wednesday with Ann Petrino, and Ann's going to be talking all about how to put together FIT Europe, which can seem very overwhelming for a lot of people. So next Wednesday at 4:30 on the main Facebook page, Marissa Bell will be the co-host for that, because I'm actually going on vacation, Roy. I'm getting on a plane. I'm going to another state. Can't wait.
Make sure to post.
I will. Don't worry. I will, guys. Thank you so very much. And thank you, Roy. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
All right. Take care. Bye.